is another kind of media attempt to do something in the same way in a rather manipulative fashion. So Mexico took just 2 weeks to capitulate to Washington and allowed this crop eradication project to take place. So 1969 is the moment where it begins a series of games of intimidation and all of these kinds of, this dynamic of retribution that's played out along the border that you saw partly in Traffic and is really part of the narrative of Touch of Evil. So in the end, what we have is the ideal narc. He's troubled by his position. You always see him thinking, it's not easy. So the ideal narc, or the only character who's really trustworthy and unwavering in his commitment to justice. And he's poorly paid. He refuses all the money that's being offered to him. He's not corrupt like his partner, who wants private gain for all this information that he holds and is, killed for that, punished within the narrative. He's the only character that it asserts that, and he says at some point, that Mexico and the U.S. have to work together. And then he's also the only character that really makes that happen. And he does it for moral reasons, if you remember. Do you remember why? I'll say. What is it?
For the children.
Yeah, exactly, for the children. So that the kids can play at night. They can play baseball at night. It's all about baseball. And of course, baseball is the icon of Americana. And it's, I think, not uncoincidental that you see what the end of the film is exactly that. He's accomplished his mission. He's sitting there at night. He's playing baseball with these kids. Judging by the filter, I'm assuming it's in Mexico. So Traffic is really, it's ostensibly about the war at home, but it really projects this narc sensibility onto the Latino American character. This character who's bilingual, he has fluidity in both zones. He's a border resident that encompasses both spaces. So he's bilingual, as I was saying before, and travels readily across the border in both Mexican and U.S. cultures. Remember, Touch of Evil, same with the cop. So within the logic of the film, the ideal viewer is not this, Anglo family whose position against drug trafficking has been well established. It's kind of in a sense, the ideal viewer. But it's the transnational Latino American whose cultural fluidity and access is a valuable commodity on the war on drugs. And you'll see a lot of other films that come out later. It's always the character of color. Maybe they have some urban facility, or they have some facility in terms of language, Spanish language, that becomes the hero who is enacting all of the principles of the war on drugs. So in this case, Javier gives up all of his information because he thinks it's the right thing to do. And he's, in some ways, the new cowboy on the frontier, on the border. He's, the American hero stands up for what he believes is right. And we see that in all of Hollywood. It's always that one person standing up, Aaron Brockovich's, for what's right against the odds and refusing the money and then becoming, in a sense, I guess, he receives his kind of, sort of looking for, not, he's rewarded, but it's more of a rewarded character. He's not really rewarded financially. So, in a way, he stands up for what's right, but he does so in a way that privileges the role of the transnational American narc, who encourages and promotes collaboration in and across the Americas. So the ideal, then described by Elliot Abrams, of this complete integration of policing agencies never really happened that well, but it did happen in the imaginary of Traffic through this character. And so even I was reading some more news stories, and now the Mexican government is really blaming the United States for its lack of effectivity in diminishing drug use in the United States. So the tables, in a sense, maybe turned, or the rhetoric has turned, but nonetheless, I think this film presented the first time that the issue of whose fault or who can do this and then whose responsibility is it, I think is being kind of almost drummed into our head through Traffic. So that's sort of the end of my comments, but I also wanted to point to areas, again, concerned to this film, because I think it has nothing to do with what I'm saying, and it does. It has a lot to do with what I'm saying. You have a border film with a vengeance. So I think, has anyone seen Machete? So it's a guy, he's a day laborer, he's posing as a day laborer, and he gets involved in this plot, and in the end, kind of wins out. But it's a very kind of interesting, I think, address to the border genre. And I just wanted to end with that kind of happy note. Even though it doesn't seem happy because of all the knives and the bloodshed. But so, thank you.